Are you living your life or are they? Well, I know that is a pretty heavy, almost uncomfortable question to throw at you right off the bat, but it is absolutely the perfect hook to set the stage for our explainer today. Because if you really stop and think about it, how many of the choices you made today were truly 100% yours? And how many were simply just what one does, what they expect you to do? Today, we are diving deep into the mind of the 20th century German philosopher Martin Heidegger to decode his notoriously complex, literal game-changer of a book from 1927, Being in Time. This text completely revolutionized existentialism. You see, Heidegger didn't just want to sit around and think about abstract, lofty concepts. He actually wanted to explore the immediate, messy, everyday experiences of human existence. So let's break down this incredibly dense thought system together and figure out what it actually means to be authentic. Here's our roadmap for the journey today. 1. Lost in the they. 2. Dasein, or being in the world. 3. The ultimate wake-up call. 4. Time is not a clock. 5. Owning your authentic self. And finally, 6. The paradox of the philosopher. Let's jump right into section 1, Lost in the they, the trap of everydayness. To really understand why we unthinkingly adopt our lifestyles, we have to look at this concept called Dasein. Heidegger argued that when we're born, we don't just spawn into an empty void. We are thrown into a world that already has established shared cultural contexts and meanings. We don't start from scratch at all. And because of this, it is entirely inevitable that we end up conforming to the values of public life. This is Dasein, the anonymous they. It's the impersonal, de-individualized structure of society. Basically, it's that little voice in your head that says, well, this is just how things are done. And you can see Dasein manifesting literally everywhere in our daily routines. We take pleasure the exact same way they take pleasure. We submit to fashion trends, we blindly adopt public opinion on things like art and literature, we follow social stereotypes, and, we just take the path of least resistance. Playing a particular role makes life so much easier. It reduces friction. But while it is super convenient, it's also a massive trap. Heidegger calls this state's everydayness, a state where we completely lose our distinct personality and are just condemned to live a really superficial existence. Just let the weight of this quote sink in for a second. Everyone is the other, and no one is himself. That is the ultimate danger of losing ourselves to the anonymous they. We just become a reflection of the crowd, entirely stripped of our own inner driving force. Moving right along to section 2, Dasein, being in the world. You are not just an object. So, how in the world do we fight this conformity? The academic roots of Heidegger's work point to a really deep analysis of human being there in the world. His existential analytic isn't just about making a list of human traits. It's a deep ontological structure, aiming to lay bare the fundamental mode of being that is totally peculiar to us. He wanted to get to the bottom of the fundamental question of the meaning of being itself. And that brings us to the absolute core term of his whole philosophy, Dasein. Translated from German, it simply means being there. The crucial takeaway here is that Dasein is not just an object. We are not some static thing just sitting in the universe, like a rock or a table. We are an active, aware entity that actually understands its own existence, and more importantly, cares about it. And crucially, Dasein is being in the world. We are completely 100% inseparable from our environment. We make our meaning through our interactions with the tools, the people, and the society all around us. Let's look at section 3. The ultimate wake-up call. Escaping the trance. Okay, so if we are all stuck in this comfortable, sleepwalking trance of Dasein, how does Dasein ever actually break free? Well, Heidegger points to a highly disruptive force, anxiety. But specifically anxiety rooted in what he calls being toward death. Now, hold on. We need to clarify right away that this is absolutely not about clinical biological death. He's not talking about a medical event at the end of your life. Instead, being toward death is an existential awareness. It's a profound dread that forces us to face our own finitude. It violently breaks the chain of all those shared cultural meanings because your death is the one single thing that no one else can do for you. Another person simply cannot stand in for your mortality. When we experience this very specific type of anxiety, it creates a shocking individuation. Suddenly, you are violently pulled right out of the crowd. You experience what Heidegger calls unheimlich, a feeling of being uncanny or not home-like in the world you previously just took for granted. And it's exactly in this stark isolation that you are finally capable of hearing the call of conscience. Now, this isn't your everyday moral conscience telling you right from wrong. It is a call from your own authentic self, urging you to reevaluate your situation, step away from the comforting illusions of the they, and reclaim your unique possibilities. In short, moments of severe crisis are actually profound opportunities for total liberation. That brings us to Section 4. Time is not a clock. The illusion of ordinary time. To truly wrap our heads around Dasein and this whole movement toward authenticity, we really have to explore the underlying mechanics of our reality. Heidegger argues that time is the fundamental horizon of all understanding of being. Basically, if we want to answer the question of being, we absolutely cannot look at time the way a physicist looks at a stopwatch. Usually, we think of ordinary clock time, right? We picture it as this endless, linear container of nows, a simple sequence of past, present, and future events. But Heidegger argues this is actually a flattened, degenerate version of reality. True reality relies on what he calls originary temporality. This is time as an ecstasy, an interconnected web where Dasein is always pressing ahead into futural possibilities while simultaneously retaining its historical context, or its thrownness. Time isn't a container we exist inside of. No, time is the very structure of human existence. Without Dasein, there is no meaningful time whatsoever. Next up, Section 5, Owning Your Authentic Self, Cultivating Eigenlichkeit. So, practical application time. How do we actually live an authentic life in time? The term Heidegger uses here is Eigenlichkeit. It's often translated simply as authenticity, but its literal roots point a lot closer to the word ownedness. And this is a massive distinction. Authenticity for Heidegger is not about looking deep inside yourself to find some static, prepackaged inner essence or some hidden, unrepressed feeling. Rather, it's a dynamic, ongoing process. It's all about taking responsibility for and literally owning the person you are constantly becoming as you project yourself into the future. Let's compare the two paths. Inauthentic existence means just falling through life. It's taking the path of least resistance, absent-mindedly conforming, and drifting totally indifferently with the crowd. Authentic existence, on the flip side, means steadfastly owning your choices. It means anticipating life's crises, actively dissecting the values you wish to live by, and then actively affirming them. It's an ongoing, daily responsibility to choose your own possibilities, rather than letting society lazily choose them for you. Finally, we reach Section 6, the paradox of the philosopher, the complexity of authenticity. Now, historically speaking, there is a very complex paradox regarding Heidegger as a person, his affiliation with the Nazi Party in 1930s Germany. Critics often point out the glaring contrast of a philosopher who literally wrote the book on resisting conformity, actively participating in a mass political movement, succumbing, essentially, to the they. Furthermore, on a purely philosophical level, there are strong modern critiques of his work. The Dialectica critique, for example, argues that Heidegger created a flat world ontology. The argument goes that by making all meaning dependent entirely on Dasein, beings and objects are reduced merely to human intentions. In his quest to save human subjectivity and freedom, the critique argues, Heidegger inadvertently stripped the natural world of its own independence, autonomy, and fate. This leads to the oblivion of independent nature, turning the entire world into mere material just sitting around awaiting human discovery. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly profound question to consider based on everything we've unpacked in this explainer today. What does being authentic mean to you? Does it mean cultivating an ongoing sense of ownership over your choices, just as Heidegger suggests? How are you going to navigate the intense pull of the they tomorrow morning? We really hope these conceptual tools help you start answering that for yourself. Thanks for joining me, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.